So just so I know, okay, I know I was walking into like a Godfather thing and going to get whacked here. So this is a cool spot. And I appreciate y'all having me on the show.
Absolutely.
Tell me real quick before I answer your questions, tell me what this whole thing means about
Piece of grit.
yeah, man, like piece of grit.
So back in 2020, I started a personal brand called GRYT Mentality. And it was just like a theme page. I posted like motivational stuff. I was in college and my buddies were asking me like, cause I started running and I started doing these different things and we're all in college, you know, we're boozing, we're having a good time. And a lot of them started to ask like, hey, how did you start doing this? Or how are you disciplined to wake up at 5 a.m. or whatever it was? And so I started creating like content about it. And I was like, I really enjoyed creating disciplined content because I felt like social media had become just kind of a pit of despair for most people. So my idea at the time was I can be kind of a beacon of light in a sense of like trying to help people get more disciplined, helping them, you know, like do stuff that they didn't think they could do before. That started people reaching out to me saying, hey, I want you to run my social media account. And what ended up kind of spiraling off of that is we kind of started to see what social media was like on the other side. There's really good people on social media and then there's a lot of bad on social media. So our company, GRYT Media, was started as a way to help people develop platforms that are here to actually inspire good in the world, good in their communities. Like we truly believe that we are a platform to help other people who already help their community in the world in a positive way right now, but we're helping to amplify that. So that's kind of the basis of the podcast. That's the basis of everything we do.
I like that. And it's called
Piece of Grit.
Piece of Grit.
Piece of Grit.
So you said something that just hit home and I actually pulled up my phone because one of my favorite, again, I'm probably the biggest sinner in this room, but I'm a believer. I'm a follower of Christ. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus and I'm saved. Doesn't mean I'm perfect. I'm imperfect. I'm flawed. But one of the greatest things I was talking, you all asked me about goated, which we'll get into. There's a guy, one of my mentors, his name is Pastor Van Duzer. Everyone calls him Coach V. Well known here. He's run sports outreach programs in our county for years. He's been running Lee County Fellowship of Christian Athletes in every high school. And long story short is every one of his email signature is Matthew 5:16, which says, let your light shine before other men so that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. In other words, every day we have a decision. Am I going to be, it's like social media, it's like everything else. We have a decision. Am I going to be part of the problem or part of the solution? Am I going to be proactive or reactive? Am I going to be a bright light that others see me? I don't care if it's as simple as walking down the street. I'm that guy that'll walk down the street and just say hi to somebody. And some people might give me the finger or just totally ignore me. And I'll just laugh and say, okay, good talk. But you never know that person that I say hi to, the person I let over in traffic could be having a really bad day. They could have lost somebody they loved. They could have just lost their job. They could have been diagnosed with terminal cancer. We don't know what everybody else has going on. So to be a bright light means be an encourager, make others feel good, and be a positive influence in the community. And I'm glad you just said that because when you first reached out to me and I went and saw Piece of Grit and GRYT Media and what you all were about, I immediately saw, A, you're real. B, I could just tell before you even told me, kind of your mission statement is, I want to make a positive impact and a positive influence on other people. I want to be a bright light. Bright light as opposed to a dark hole, that's the way to be. And so many people don't have hope. So many people don't have grace and a positive outlook on the future. We live in a world where we are bombarded 24/7 with all the negative bullshit. Anti-God, anti-faith, fear, right? So I love to live, as Matthew 5:16 says, be a bright light. I like to live in faith over fear. And I'm sure we're going to get into COVID, but my theme all during COVID, whether I was talking to my real estate team, talking to my clients, or doing our podcast at See the Table every Tuesday, the Patriot Talk Show, we wanted to make sure that people chose faith over fear. because fear is what all these son of bitches feed off of, from our government. They want to control us, to our enemies, to our adversaries, to our competition. They want us fearful and living in fear. And when they get that, what do, man? We're stressed out. We're anxiety. We're full of fear. We don't sleep good, so we take drugs to sleep good. We overeat, so we take drugs to help lose weight. We get sick easier and we're more unhealthy. So what do? We take drugs to make ourselves healthier. And we get in this cycle. And I'm telling you, as a society, America specifically, we're in trouble. And one of the reasons why I think you invited me on the show is, and I don't want to pat on the back, and I got haters out there, but man, I'm never going to stop while there's air in my lungs trying to tell people to be a bright light, faith over fear, and to speak up and stand up for what you believe in. If you believe those arrows down the Publix grocery stores during COVID were a bunch of BS, I'm not going to follow those arrows just to comply. I'm that guy to all my Jewish brothers and sisters out there. By the way, Happy New Year, Rosh Hashanah. And I stand with Israel, man, I do. And if that pisses somebody off, they can kiss my ass.
Yep.
They're my brothers, man. I'm a Christian. I'm a follower of Christ. So my Jewish brothers and sisters, there would be no Bible without the Old Testament.
Come on now.
So I feel like God's pushing us all together to kind of form our team.
Yep.
But if that offended you by me walking down the aisle, by not walking with the arrows, if it offended you that I wasn't going to wear a face diaper over my mask, over my face, then I'm not sorry. I'm just being real to who I am and standing up for what I believe in. And it's not about we told you so, because everything we talked about, the mask didn't work, the arrows didn't work, the social distance, it was all BS. It was all about controlling us, keeping our kids home, locked away, fearful, wearing masks. I still don't think we know all the impacts that had on the younger generation, the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds that are now getting ready to go into high school. They were impacted by this. Their growth, their education was stunted, and they're just fearful and scared, and they want to create a society. Watch the movie, read the book 1984.
George Orwell. Yep.
They want to control us. They want to control our food supply. They want to control and keep us unhealthy, pale, overweight, anxiety-ridden. I'm just telling you, I ain't never going to go like that. I'm not going to roll like that. And they can have my guns, and they can put a mask on me when I'm dead on this earth, and they can pry that gun from my cold, dead hands.
I'm with you.
By the way, I hope we're keeping it real, because
come on now.
Everything you just said.
That's how we kick it off.
Yes, sir.
That's how we kick it off.
Everything you just said, completely with you on it. I do think the impact of COVID, not only COVID, the vaccines on, like you said, the younger generation, we're going to see it in like 10, 15
we're
years.
Already seeing it. How many more people have to say so-and-so dropped dead at 32 years old from a coronary attack, or athletes or celebrities, and they just brush it under the table. You know, I don't understand that no one's even talking about it. There's more to that than we even know, because the media doesn't cover it.
Yep.
You're 100% right. And by the way, I'm not knocking anybody. Man, there are people out there that have severe health issues. My parents ran out and got vaxxed in their 80s. Look, everybody has a right. You have the right to go get vaccinated, take all the boosters and vaccinations you want. What you don't have the right to do is to kick me out of the military. We lost so many good people. You know, I'm a proud veteran.
Terrible.
A lot of my friends, spec op guys, they were forced out of the military. We lost a lot of great warriors that protect our country because they refused. They made the choice with their body to not inject themselves with some unproven, untested thing that now we all know was not healthy for your body.
Yep.
But standing up sucks sometimes. When I first spoke up and stood up against COVID, and I stood with Alfie Oates, who is, I look at him like a mentor to me. That guy took a huge stand. That guy showed me grit and to stand up and speak up. And I told you, I had people within my real estate world going, man, you better be careful because it's going to cost you business. And people Alfie's kind of been, they're calling him a racist. And again, with all due respect, I told those people to kiss my ass. No one's going to tell me who I can stand with and not stand with.
Sure.
And yeah, it turned out in hindsight, we were on the right side of that stuff. Those that weren't just want to forget about it and just move on. And I hate to say this, and now I lost my train of thought going back to my Jewish brothers and sisters. I'm that guy that when the Nazis said, get on the train, I ain't getting on the train. And I'm not knocking them for doing that. But when you go back and you read the history books and you watch those movies that are so powerful and so moving and so evil and so horrible. But man, human nature has shown us over the years, when people can control you through fear, like the Nazis did in Germany, and they rounded up all the Jews because of their religious beliefs, and they told them to get on those trains. In hindsight now, I'm sure a bunch of them, knowing where they were going to go, to the gas chambers and all that, slave labor camps, the most horrific conditions you and I can ever even fathom. I'd rather die fighting, standing up, than on my knees cowering. And that might not sound too Christian, but I identify, so we're all about a society of identification. I identify as this, I identify with David in the Bible, Old Testament. David was a wild man. David was a warrior. David did some crazy things, but God knew his heart. And God uses lots of different people. And they may not be the most well-spoken, nicest, cleanest cut New Testament people. In other words, you know, the New Testament showed us that, man, we're going to turn the other cheek. If somebody smacks your cheek, turn and give them your left cheek. And I get that, what they're trying to say. But I also think that God chooses to use people like he's done throughout the history of our world, like he used David to wipe out all of Israel's enemies. And David did. And David would dance naked around the fire. The whole book of Psalms are songs that David sang and wrote with his love of God, his thankfulness to God for all their blessings. I'm a David. God knows my heart. I will give the shirt off my back for people, even people that I don't even like or align with, because that's what a follower of Christ does. I still make mistakes. I'm still imperfect. I'm still flawed, but I'm trying to get better every day. So to my Jewish brothers and sisters, again, Happy New Year, Rosh Hashanah. But my point is, people had to stand up. People stood up during World War II. People stood up during the Civil Rights Movement. And there were lots of white people that stood up with their black brothers and sisters in the South. And by the way, for a history lesson for those watching, the Jim Crow laws, this is fact, the Jim Crow laws and most of the segregation and all that stuff going on in the South was orchestrated and put in the law at a state level by Dixie Democrats. Period. End of story. Do all the research you want. The Jim Crow laws and all those really horrific things that they did to fellow Americans, citizens, because of the color of their skin, were orchestrated in the South by Dixie Democrats. Now, I'm not saying all Democrats are bad. They're trying to say all Republicans are bad. They try to tell us if I wear a red hat that says "Make America Great Again," that I'm a racist and I'm a threat to America, which is the most ridiculous thing of all time. I warned y'all, I'm all over the place. My mind's spinning.
It's all
Good.
good.
We're warming up.
It's all good. I
We're
love
warming
this.
up.
Yeah,
Let's
I
go.
love this guy already.
And I'm having some of these drip. Man, the electrolytes and the energy in these things are killing me.
That is a sponsored ad.
So these are like, dude, they'll get you all fired up. So
Yeah, come on.
get you some of that drip.
No, that's awesome.
So anyway, sorry I'm going off on a tangent, but I get fired up.
No, I love it. When you were going through that, and a lot of people were just terrified, honestly.
Going through COVID.
Going through COVID and going through it all. Did you feel like you were in a point where either you would step up and talk about it, or was there any other option for you? And how did you go about it? And how did you face those people that had the strong opinions of this isn't what you should do, and this isn't what, isn't good for business?
Yep. So again, going back to that faith over fear, when people use fear, and I'm going to keep using the word they, I really don't know who they are, but they are out there. They are the ones running our country right now. It's not Sleepy Joe. It's not Kamala. Okay. They are running things. And I'm just telling you right now, they have been running things for a long time. And this goes much deeper than Kamala and Biden. It goes back, and it's not just Democrats, it's Republicans. Whoever they are, they run a lot of stuff. They don't like people going to church. They don't like people having faith. They want people living in fear, so they're easier to control. So when COVID went down, from the very beginning, I just think for myself.
Are these conversations you're having with your network? Because we talked about it earlier. You have an extensive network here locally and just nationally.
So we were lucky, first of all, to live. Had I acted the way I acted down here, very outspoken against COVID, calling it all BS, faith over fear. Had I been, I'm originally from Maryland. Maryland was a totally different state. New York was a totally different state. California, they handled the plandemic way differently. So we were blessed, first of all, and I've said it, I literally say it every day, every week. We are truly blessed to live in the reddest, most common sense, most freedom-loving county in the most conservative, common sense, freedom-loving state in America. So we are blessed to live in Collier County. I've given the term, trademark pending, Freedom Town USA to our town years ago. Other people are using it. That's okay. Alpha, you can use it. Congressman Byron Donalds has used it. It's okay. But I think I actually originated it. It's okay. I don't want nothing for it. But it's a movement. It's a mission statement. It's just what we stand for. And it doesn't mean only people that can be part of Freedom Town USA didn't wear a mask. It's meaning that you stand up for what you believe in and you don't force your beliefs on me. I love how all these pro-choice people are always like, my body, my choice. Well, these same screaming lunatics, when it came to getting the vaccine, no, everybody's got to get the vaccine. Everybody, mandatory, go door to door. And of course, we laughed at it in Florida, like, bring that shit down here and try to make me and Alfie and pretty much Congressman Byron Donalds and our Governor Ron DeSantis and pretty much every other person I know. We're not having that. The world we live in now, man, I'm just telling you, I love America, but we've come our states, our businesses, my day-to-day job in real estate, everything is tied to politics. I'm sorry, but it is. Naples saw one of the biggest booms in real estate history because of COVID, because of politics, because people around the country and around the world go, I'm tired. They believe like we believe. They wanted their freedom of choice. They wanted their kids to be able to go to school, not be locked out at home. They wanted to be able to walk into a supermarket, like sit at the table and not be forced at almost gunpoint to wear a mask. So people came here in droves during COVID. And what happened? I'm in real estate. Real estate blew up. It was insane. So we were blessed, right? Every person I know was very successful and blessed. And I had a very profitable time during COVID. COVID actually was killing a lot of people. I was worried about business too when the whole world shut down. But Florida, thanks to our governor, and thanks to our leadership at the time in DC, and thanks to guys like Alfie, who showed me true grit, right? What grit really is about, to stand up even at the risk of losing your business, even at the risk of your kids being threatened in school. When I heard Alfie's testimony and his daughter came home crying because kids were calling her racist and her dad's racist and threatening her, that's terrible. A pretty scary moment when your daughter comes home. And Alfie's told that story, and it just inspired me to say, I got to stand up. If I lose all my real estate business, I don't care. So when you make a choice to stand up and stand for something, you have to be willing to risk your business, risk relationships. So getting back to your question, COVID and my stance on COVID cost me friendships, longtime friendships that still are not where they were before COVID. It cost families to be torn apart and not speak to each other. Politics is doing the same thing. So again, to get back to your question, I jumped into it because in my heart, I just sat back and looked at how I can follow an arrow down this aisle in Publix when everybody's touching the same mayonnaise jar, everybody's touching the same fruit and vegetables, everybody's touching the same peanut butter jar. How is that even scientifically even working? How does that plastic plexiglass behind the cashier, when air's blowing all over it, how is that even working? But the common sense part of me goes, that just don't work. Because I was raised and I was born with the God-given talent to question things. I think things for myself, right? So, and I hope the younger generation, you young bucks, and then my son who's 21, I'm very optimistic that there's enough of you guys and ladies that are going to become the next, you all got next, that are going to do the same thing. It's question everything. It's okay to question that stuff. And they're going to call you conspiracy theorists. I thought a lot of this stuff was conspiracy theory stuff, and I never wore a tinfoil hat. Yeah. But I'll tell you, over the last 3, 4, 5 years, man, a lot of them conspiracy
tinfoil
theories have
hat's
come
on.
true.
Yeah.
So that leads me to believe, what else have they not been telling us? What else have they been lying to us about? What other conspiracy theories are true? And anyway, it just leads you down that path. So I just inside me said, this is BS. I'm going to stand up and speak up. I joined and sat next to Alfie. Brendan Leslie had this great idea from Florida's Voice to start a podcast show live at See the Table. It started out with like 8-10 people. And then it just grew and grew and grew, and it became like a weekly event. To this day, I can't walk in to See the Table without somebody coming up going, when y'all gonna do another show? People just loved it and craved it because they wanted to come together as a community and feel good about themselves, feel good about celebrating our freedom, and also feel good about just venting out loud with all the BS that goes on a daily basis. You got to turn that news off, because the news is part of the problem, man. Even Fox News, they're misleading all of us to be against each other, to live in fear. And man, I'm telling you, the best thing I ever did was turn that TV off. I watch sports. I get some snippets of obviously news and stuff. I follow Florida's Voice, which is Brendan Leslie's news organization here in Florida, to get most of my news, especially at a local and state level. And I get my little snippets from different pieces here, Breitbart, Newsmax, etc. So I'm getting the news and the truth, but it's hard. You got to go look for it, because everybody else from MSNBC and CNN and even local newspapers, Naples Daily News, it's a liberal rag. I won't subscribe to it. I miss not getting my local sports and rooting for my local FBA Lions football team, but I refuse to pay $1 to Naples Daily News, because overall they try to spin things in a very fear-driven way. Even though they reside and they benefit from living and doing business and selling newspapers in Collier County, Freedom Town, USA.
Going on the COVID thing too, and the vaccines, I truly believe, or maybe I need to believe, that people are fundamentally good, and that
I believe that
they just created so much fear around this thing that everybody just wanted to do what was best for them and their family, or what they thought was at the time. And I'm
cool with that, by the way.
And then what happens from there, man, is like people have a subconscious need to fit in. So it's like, once that fear starts going away a little bit, everybody else is still wearing masks. Everybody else got the shot. They're doing the boosters. Your neighbor's getting your booster. Your sister's getting the booster. It's like, I'm going to get the booster too. It's just, you want to fit in with everyone. Like, I have an aunt. She was a nurse at Cortland for like 25 years in the city. And she was healthy, 38, didn't want to get the vaccine. They threatened to fire her. So she got 3. She had to get 3. Sadly, a year ago, she died from myocarditis. Her heart exploded. 3 days ago.
Sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, it's all good. 3 days ago, Fauci came out and admitted that the vaccine is causing myocarditis. So it's like, to a point, it's so hard not to be furious at the whole thing, right?
Be angry at it, man, because they killed your aunt. I mean, they forced her to do it. It's crazy.
But what happens is there's so much going on. There's so many things that, like you said, the news is just shoving in your face that it's like you can't keep up. No. So it's like COVID's out of everybody's mind already. It's gone.
By the way, COVID's still here.
Yeah.
People are still getting COVID.
Exactly. But that's not the issue now. Now there's 15 different issues. Every time you wake up and turn on the TV, there's 3 new things that you have to focus on.
Bird flu and
man. It's like you can't stay focused on one thing. There's no problems being fixed. It's just that was yesterday's problem. Now today we have a new one.
Yeah, today is missiles being launched in Israel. It's all the ports are shutting down because of the strike. It's horrific. My mom was up in Asheville, North Carolina, Hendersonville. Look, Florida took another beating again, which has been a crazy couple years. But up in North Carolina, I mean, you talk about biblical floods and catastrophic devastation, and the government being Biden, Kamala, and whoever run so slow to respond. It's just horrible. You saw our governor come out. Our governor's like, look, man, we don't need anything. We're Florida. We're sending help to North Carolina. And I just we had the saying, let's make America Florida. If we ran our country like run the state of Florida,
It'd be awesome.
And that's attributed to leaders like Byron Donalds. That's attributed to our governor, Ron DeSantis. That's attributed to our resident and soon-to-be 47th president, Donald J. Trump. And that's attributed to even our local leaders, man. We don't realize how important our local leaders are. I remember going down speaking at the county with Alfie when the current board back then, we voted a couple of them out. They were fear-driven fear mongers about closing our beaches, about making people wear masks in restaurants, about not letting businesses open. And I will never forget our sheriff, Kevin Rambach, who's a friend, standing up and saying, I'm a constitutional sheriff. I swore to uphold and protect the Constitution.
I remember that.
And in turn, protect the freedoms of our citizens. And he and our Cuyahoga County sheriffs refused to fine and or arrest people that wouldn't adhere to 3 of the 5 Cuyahoga County commissioners at the time. And I'll say their names. It was Penny Taylor, who got voted out. It was Bert Saunders, who just got reelected, who's come around since then. And Andy, good gal, I can't think of his other name now. So we voted 2 of the 3 out. We then got some common sense, really good leadership in there. Guys like Dan Kowal, guys like Air Force retired Colonel Rick LaCastro, guys like Chris Hall. They're all friends of mine. You got Bill McDaniel, and even Bert's come around a lot too. So we came that close to being locked down and being forced to wear masks at businesses, being forced to wear masks up and down the streets. They were trying to close our parks. And I remember every time my wife and I, we love going for walks around the county. They had yellow tape over outdoor parks with caution of virus and stuff. Yeah. And you're like, dude, I can't walk outside and get natural sunlight in the open and breathe fresh air. That's the healthiest thing you could do. But that was the mentality of locking us down. And it seeps in here. We have our own issues here in Freedom Town, USA. We ain't perfect. You know, we got school teachers right now, some, very few, but some that want to push their liberal, crazy, radical agendas in the classroom. We did a show a couple years ago where we found a teacher at Barron Collier High School. I think the teacher was a history or math teacher, was teaching kids in 10th grade about how we all need to be unisexed gingerbread men, meaning that there is no boy gender, there is no girl gender. Let's all be non-gendered. Let's be gender neutral gingerbread men. And I'm not kidding you. We exposed that on our show with Brendan Leslie. And again, I love teachers, Matt. That's a great job. I love overall our school system here, but there needs to be accountability where if I can't wear a t-shirt to high school that professes my faith, like a cross, but I can wear a gay rights or an LBGTQ or any other type of t-shirt, but I can't wear a shirt with a cross on it because it offends somebody, then we have a problem. And we're fighting those battles every day, every week, every year here. That's why these local elections matter. That's why I get so passionate, like Alfie, that our Cuyahoga County commissioners matter. Our school board commissioners matter. Who your fire commissioners are. And I'm proud to be fire commissioner elected by the great citizen of this county to represent them and represent our awesome, brave firefighters. We got some of the best first responders in the world right here in Cuyahoga County with Greater Naples Fire and Rescue. So not only did I walk the walk and support other candidates, I ran a campaign and put myself out there. And thanks be to God, we won. And I get to be the fire commissioner for Greater Naples. And by the way, I love that job. My full-time job is real estate and being a fire commissioner. But my point is, when I decided to stand up and speak out, you got to get involved. You got to show up. You got to come to these things. And I got asked by several firefighter buddies to run, and I decided to do it. And best decision I ever made. I don't think I'll go beyond that. I got too many skeletons in my closet, but I love paying an interest to and making sure that I donate my time, treasures, and talents to make sure that we have the best school board commissioners, the best county commissioners, the best fire commissioners, the best supervisor of Cuyahoga County elections, the best judges, all those things. All of us can go out and vote and have an impact on that. And I just want to appeal to your audience, man, especially the younger people that are out of college. You guys kind of have next. You got to make an impact. You got to get more involved in politics. You got to make sure you show up at these meetings, Cuyahoga County Commissioner Board meetings. You got to show up at the school board meetings because one day soon, you guys are going to be dads and having kids going to these same schools. And I just pray and hope for my grandkids' sake, for my son's sake, that you guys get to grow up in the same America, the same Cuyahoga County, the same state of Florida that I got to grow up in. And it's changing.
Either you stand for something or you fall for everything.
Absolutely.
So,
amen.
I want to touch on 2 things quick that you just said. One is, have you heard of, Tim Kennedy and like Apogee schools that they're coming out with?
No.
Okay, so Tim Kennedy is former Green Beret.
Okay.
He started
I like him already.
Yeah, so he does a whole lot of different things. He started a company that it's like a private company where they went to Afghanistan during the pullout.
Yep.
It's all old retired special forces guys and like CIA and stuff.
I probably know some of those guys.
Yeah, so they were in Afghanistan. They were in Ukraine. But they're the guys right now. They're at the hurricane, all these hurricane sites. So, but the schools he's opening these schools now. There's like hundreds of them. He's opening them all over the country, and it's a new format. It's basically going against the whole education system, and it's K through 12. You stay in the same school, the same teachers, and basically it's not your school format where you're taking tests. There's no you're not taking tests. It's all like short form essay. It's all like Socratic debates. It's like and then what they do is every day you get a certain amount of work. You get a workload for the day. So instead of saying you have 9 periods, you're earth science to math to this to that, you're just taking tests all day and listening to lectures, you have a workload. Once you can do whatever you want throughout the day. If you want to go outside and play for 4 hours outside, this goes to like 6, 7-year-olds too. If you want to go outside and play for 5 hours, that's fine, but you can't leave until you get the workload done. If you want to get the workload done, then go play outside, you can do that. So what it does is he's handing the decisions back to the kids, and they see the consequences of those actions. And it's like, the parents have to be involved. The parents have homework. So it's like where he's bringing parents back into their kids' education.
That's a crazy idea. Keep the parents involved.
Right. It's like education needs to move back to the nuclear family. You should decide what your kids are learning, not some 24-year-old teacher that just graduated FGCU that doesn't know shit about the world either. Right.
Got purple hair and wearing a rainbow t-shirt.
Yeah. So these Apogee schools, definitely look into them. I think you'd fucking love them. The whole... I don't want to speak too much about it because I don't know enough. I don't want to say anything wrong, but from everything I've heard and read, they are growing so fast that hopefully the goal is to take over the U.S. education system. And then the second thing, was the hurricanes, since that's going on right now. I read this morning. I think you're going to think,
give it to me.
You probably know this already, but this is fucking insane.
Okay.
So far this year, this is where our tax dollars have gone. Like in the government giving out money, right? So $24.4 billion to Ukraine, $11.3 billion to Israel, $1.9 billion to Ethiopia, $1.6 billion to Jordan, $1.4 billion to Egypt, $1.1 billion to Afghanistan, $1.1 billion to Somalia, $1 billion to Yemen, $987 million to Congo, $896 million to Syria, $13,000 per illegal immigrant that has entered the country. Hawaiian families got $700 per family. Hurricane Helene families, $750 per family.
Kamala just offered that yesterday. I posted about it.
$750 per family. So
they
it's
lost everything. They lost everything.
Everything. And the thing to me...
And they're American citizens.
Exactly. So it pisses me off the most is that the government does not generate any money. So all of this money that they're shelling out is our money. So it's like, why are we working so hard so you can fund Yemen? I couldn't even fucking pick Yemen out on a map. Where is the money for? I know personally people affected by Helene, South Carolina, Tennessee, Florida. If you're in Florida, it's like, if you're going to take my money and give it to someone else, why wouldn't you give it to Americans, right? Why is the money that we're working for going to Ukraine? Like, it's just like, so who cares? Like, again, I get it. There's situations, but it's not our problem, essentially. We have problems here. Like, you go to any major city in America, filled with homeless people, and it's not like it used to be. They're fucking zombies now. Like, I grew up in New York, like they're chasing after you on the street. It's like, get those guys away from me.
City, man. Yeah.
Fix the education system, fix the roads, help people with hurricanes. Like, if you're going to take my money, people would be less mad about taxes if it went to actually good things. I feel like it's not like you just lose the money. It's just gone and it goes overseas. So, and it just gets funneled back into, again, tin hat, just gets funneled back into like the Democratic Party, honestly. So,
by the way, first of all, he's all jacked up, buddy, fired up, got the biggest freaking quads anybody ever seen. I don't like to sit next to this guy. Next time, man, sit next to somebody else, dude. I feel small next to this dude. So look, I love that. How old are you, by the way?
24.
So 24. So my son's 21. How old are you?
24. 25 today.
So you guys.
Happy birthday, by the way. I'm sorry I didn't say that
too early. Happy birthday today?
Yeah, it's
happy birthday, bro.
I had to
so
get
you're 25 today or 24?
25.
Happy birthday, man.
Thank you, man. I'm excited to have this podcast with you on my birthday.
Let's go. That's awesome. Happy birthday.
This is a good one.
No shots, man. No shots.
I know. I do want to let you know though,
Drip. Let's do a shot of drip.
Yeah, come on now. Come on now.
Hey, so I love, again, I keep saying it. I'm in contact, a bunch of kids I got to coach and encourage back through youth sports and then in the middle school and high school football through FBA. And I keep got to these guys on social media. One of them just called his first touchdown for Clemson University last week, Olsen Henry. But I see all these guys and I see them on social media and they're all doing great. And I'm so proud of all of them. But my point is, politics doesn't seem to be cool and something you talk about while you're in college. And to hear you guys taking an interest, look, man, if you don't start paying attention now and standing up and speaking up now and voting now, it's going to be too late. And it's become an old cliche that this next election is the most important election of our lives. This one's really critical. And by the way, for the record, I don't even think it's close. Elon Musk just posted up his own poll, which Elon Musk is arguably the smartest guy on the planet. And I'm so glad he's locked arms with Trump. Because again, this transcends politics. I don't even consider myself Republican, Democrat. I'm just a common sense patriot who loves our country, who cares about having America be the same America for you guys and then eventually your kids, for my grandkids that it was when I grew up. It doesn't mean that we're going to have a perfect country. We're never going to be perfect. We have made a gazillion mistakes over the last couple hundred years. As human beings, one of my favorite things I get a kick out of is everybody goes, "Oh my God, it's so crazy right now." Dude, do you not know history? Go read the Bible. Go read every history book, man. There's been crazy things going on since Adam and Eve had to go have God said, you can have everything, use everything. Everything's yours. Just don't go near that one tree. One tree. They had everything else. Everything. Paradise. But we're human beings. God gave us free will. What we want, the one thing we're not allowed to have. So from that point on, there's been drama. There's been trauma. There's been catastrophic just disasters. There's been evil in the world since day one. And that's never going to change. But what we can change is the political climate of me versus you, Jews versus Palestine, blacks versus whites.
We need to have discourse.
We do, man. But again, let me go back to they. They love us divided. We're easier to control. If we're unhealthy, we're stressed out, we're anxiety ridden, we're eating bad foods, we're taking more drugs.
All those things.
We're not going to church. The nuclear family's been disbanded. They're simultaneously where we are deconstructing and just falling apart at the seams from within. And whoever they are, they knew the plan.
All those things that you just mentioned are things that make it harder when you screw with the food supply. You're taking wild drugs. All this, you're completely consumed in fear. Guess what that makes it impossible to do? Having a conversation.
Absolutely.
Having discourse. Having disagreements. But
respectful disagreements.
Respectful disagreements. Let's have a conversation where we can go back and forth.
I'm always happy to do that with these crazy liberals. And I've been places where they're up in your face and they're screaming with their fingers in my face and threatening me, spitting in my face. I've been standing side by side with, again, Byron Donalds, one of my favorite human beings on the planet, him and his wife, Erica, and their family. I love them to death. And I love them because I saw 15 years ago they're the kind of people, Byron and Erica. And by the way, I think Byron was almost vice president candidate, but he is doing a great job for us in Congress, did a great job for us here at the state level. It's just common sense leadership. Even though he's black and I'm white, I don't even see that, man. You know, that's what we're being dragged down this path of it's always me against you, and it's liberal against conservative, and it's just crazy how divided we are because we allow this to influence our lives. We allow social media, the media, to influence our lives. And instead of finding things in common ground, like what do you and I have in common? And there's more we have in common than we have not in common. So I'm just so sick of these labels of, well, what religion are you? I'm a follower of Christ.
Yep.
I don't attest to being a Baptist or an Episcopalian or a Catholic.
Come on now. Yeah.
It's all about labels. And I think we missed the boat on that by saying, what's your name tag say? I'm a realtor. Let me delve into my realtor side for a second. I love my company, John Erwood Properties. I am so proud over 10 years to be on the board director for that company. I love what we do in the community, and I love my fellow realtors, and I love what I do. But I say that name tag analogy because I've never cared if you're with XYZ Realty, you're with Marzuko Realty, you're with MVP Realty, Premier, don't matter. We're both in the same boat. So some realtors look at you like me, like I'm the enemy. I'm not the enemy, man. We're all in this together. There's enough real estate business to go around. So I reach across the aisle every day. I don't care what your name tag says, man. You're a realtor. Are you a good person? I'm a realtor. I'm a good person. We both care about taking care of our clients. Let's get together and make sure we do the best we can so the seller's happy, the buyer's happy. How complicated is that? It ain't complicated. But some people want to make it adversarial because they look at me like I'm the enemy because I'm the other side. Why do you even think that way? That's that mentality of fear. That's a mentality of jealousy. That's a mentality of entitlement. Why can't we put all that aside? When people have success, when realtors do more business than me, I'm telling you right now, I'm the first guy that goes, that's freaking awesome. And if deep down inside, I'm like, man, how come they got that $10 million deal? You know what? Pat Dearborn, step your game up. Go work harder, work smarter, and go out and get that business.
Come on.
But I am genuinely always happy for any success stories of any realtor at any company. As long as you're doing good things in the community, man, I'm down with that. You and I can hang out. I don't care what our name badge says. We're on the same team. And that goes back to not just transcend from real estate, it transcends from politics. You know, a lot of realtors don't want to get involved and speak their mind because they're afraid of backlash. They're afraid of somebody saying, and I guarantee you, there's been customers that go, I'm not hiring Patrick Dearborn. He's a MAGA. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry that I care about making America great again. I have no idea, by the way, how in the hell that became such a bad thing. Who doesn't want to make our country great again?
Yeah.
Anyway, but I don't care. So it goes back to your original statement. I'm never going to stop speaking my mind, standing up for what I believe in, and still being tolerant and respectful of all others.
Respect, man. That's all you can do.
I'm telling you, like you go back to why can't we have conversation anymore? Nice, respectful conversations. If you're an atheist and I'm a follower of Christ, first of all, we're both imperfect and flawed. Let's sit down and have a coffee. Let's drink some of this drip electrolyte and get all fired up. And let's have some deep conversations. Tell me why you don't believe. And I'll tell you why I do believe. I'll tell you my testimony. You tell me yours. I've been asked to speak next Wednesday. Brendan Leslie, Florida's Voice, doing a show. Y'all need to come up there. It's up in Fort Myers next week. It starts at 6 a.m. Drew Steele does a live show for them. They're doing it live from 6 to 10. From 8 a.m. to 10, the governor's going to be there. I've been asked to be there and speak. There's some pastors going up, Pastor Alan Brumbrecht from First Naples, just some cool people, leaders, etc. And we're talking about one thing, Amendment 4, and why we're a no on Amendment 4. You drive by, see the table, you drive by the Alamo gun range, you're going to see huge signs out front that say, vote no on Amendment 4. Amendment 4 is not an anti-abortion amendment. Amendment 4 is an amendment that would allow a 13-year-old girl to have an abortion without her parents knowing about it, which makes no freaking sense to me.
Yeah.
So we have to start drawing lines in the sand.
Yep.
Whether you're for that or against it, my point is I'm making a choice to go speak about that. If that costs me a friendship, if that costs me a client, I don't want that to happen, but man, I'm not going to share my heart. I'm not going to share my testimony. I'm never going to look at anybody in the eye, any woman in the eye, and tell them what to do with their bodies. But what God wants me to do is share my testimony, and you guys don't know this yet, and I don't want to get way into it, but I'm an abortion clinic survivor. So I was, my birth mom, I'm adopted, my birth mom, who I just met 3 years ago, by the grace of God, she found me and shared this story with me that I always knew I was adopted. Never knew who my birth parents were. In 1968, yes, I'm 56 years old, my birth mom got pregnant at 18, 19. And back then, abortions were really hard to come by. They weren't as fast food as they are today, where you can go anywhere and get an abortion. So she had to go into D.C. Washington, D.C. was allowing abortions. She sat in the chair, didn't believe in God at the time, and paid for the abortion, got in the chair, got in the smock, was ready to go. And I came this close to being sucked into some tube and thrown into a trash can. So yeah, I'm a little passionate about my story, and I have a passionate pro-life story. I still don't want to dictate and tell any woman what they can do with their body. Just like no one's going to tell me what you're going to stick in my body and not stick in my body. What people decide to do is between them and God. And I firmly believe that. But what I hope is by sharing my testimony, just like what you all do with your podcast, you're trying to get a message out there. It doesn't mean that you're not going to talk to me or respect me if I don't believe in what you're trying to say. And that goes back to your whole mission statement, which is talking about grit, right? Who has grit? Somebody who has grit that's willing to speak up at the risk of losing a friend, losing business, getting threatened, getting laughed at, getting spit on, whatever those things are. If me telling my testimony of how thankful to God I am that my birth mom, that God spoke to my birth mom, she says in her head, she heard this voice and she had a panic attack and she got up and the voice said, get up and get out of here. And she got up and ran out. She was not a believer at that point. And then when her whole life was unable to have babies after that, the rest of her life, and she thought the rest of her life God punished her for giving me up for adoption. Fast forward 53 years, she finds me, and I come in from a Patriot show, I see a table one night, I get a phone call, and she drops that on me. So I get very emotional. And long story short is, it changed my life, and it changed her life because it gave her a peace. How did my son turn out? Did I do the right thing? And I felt really thankful, and thanks be to God that her and I were able to connect before she passed away. She just passed away like a year ago. That I was able to meet my birth mom, hear my real story, and just have one more reason to be thankful to God that even though I'm imperfect and flawed, by the grace of God, I'm blessed to be here. And I want to be that bright light to other people. I'm going to share my testimony. I'm not going to scream, I'm anti-abortion. I am anti-abortion. I'm pro-life. I'm a walking testament of pro-life. And there are 66 million other unborn that are no longer here that could have had the same story. So anyway, I'm speaking about that next Wednesday, and it goes back to, I'm never going to stop. If God puts it on my heart and I want to share that to people and people want to give me a venue to speak out, then I'm going to speak out.
Yeah, if we can, I'd definitely like to go to that. I think it'd be cool.
Next Wednesday. So, again, y'all can come up there. If you all have the equipment, you could do a live show from there while they're doing their show.
That'd be pretty cool.
We're not opposed to that. So make sure we talk about after this podcast.
Absolutely. For sure. And I know you're on a little bit of a time crunch here. And
all good.
Yeah, there's one thing I did want to, you said earlier, is that to whoever's listening, it's you don't have to choose a side, right? You don't have to be a Republican. You don't have to be a Democrat. You just have to be a good person that wants good things for other people.
Well,
right?
you do have to choose a side.
At this point,
I'm not saying you got to put a name tag on Republican, Democrat.
Right.
That's not the side I'm talking about. You have to make a choice of, am I going to stand for something, or am I going to? I'm sorry. Say it.
Are you going to stand for something or fall for anything?
That's a decision.
Was that your quote or something?
That's a choice.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at you guys, you young bucks who have next, right? You guys are next in line. I'm 56, man. I'm a grandfather. So I look at you all, and I'm not done yet. I'm not ready to give y'all the throne yet, but my point is y'all are about to take over. My prayer and my hope is there's enough of you all, the next generation. What are y'all? Y'all Gen Z? What's y'all's thing called?
I don't even know. But
are you Gen Z?
My point being is more so of like,
right.
It's got to be
about divide.
Yeah, it's got to be. You got to be able to. It has
you're
to
black,
be like
I'm white. You're Jewish, I'm Christian. You're Republican, I'm Democrat.
Yes.
You're gay, I'm straight.
Exactly.
We have to find common ground for sure.
It's got to be a perspective switch where if you can switch your perspective and look at policies and issues as, is this good for me? Is this good for the majority of the people? Instead of, is this a Republican policy? Is this a Democrat policy? I'm a Republican. I have to be in line with this. Make your own decisions. It's do your own research. Look at what it is. Look at what's going on. Is this going to be good for you, your family, the majority of the people in America? And if people start switching perspective and thinking about things like that, I think things can slowly start going a lot better. And to be fully transparent, like I appreciate everything you're saying about us. But for me, it's like I'm 24. I've never voted in my life.
See,
right? I've never.
We got to change that.
I have never like signed up to vote. I have never voted.
And by the way, you're not alone. The majority of your age group
right,
has not done that.
and coming from someone, you know, at least my perspective, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, is, you know, with the news and how everything goes, and there's always new problems every day, it almost feels like your vote doesn't matter. It's like, what is one vote going to
That's
change?
exactly
right?
what they want us to think.
you to think.
Right. So if people feel like, especially I think people my age and younger or a little bit older, it's like, you know, it's almost like that tinfoil hat comes on. It's like nothing I'm going to do is going to change anything anyway. So I'm going to focus on me and what's directly in front of me in your 3-foot world. And you're going to make sure that your family has dinner on the table.
And you're not alone, bro. That's why I want to come on this podcast too, because you all can reach a lot of people that I'll never reach, that Alfie never reach.
Yeah.
And I think this podcast show, man, this place is amazing. I'm so pumped up and glad to be on this show. I mean,
Appreciate that.
I've done a bunch of these. This is a really cool venue. I'd love to come back on down the road and delve deeper into some other stuff if you guys will have me back.
I was actually going to say that to you after the fact, but just
But listen, and even though you're bigger than me, right? Don't make me flex up on you. I'm glad you admitted that's not easy, that you have not voted. So then that's okay.
Yeah.
But if the next, they keep talking about World War III.
Yeah.
Right? You got Iran
I'm sure
now
shit
bombing
this
Israel.
time.
But my point is, you're going to regret not voting when somebody gets in office who's pro-war. I'm
100%.
sorry, the facts are the facts.
100%.
Donald Trump was the most anti-war. He pulled us out of stuff and more towards America than we were getting involved in all these things.
Yep.
That's not the case with the other side.
Yep.
So if you don't want to get drafted and be sent to war and lose your life for a war that you're not going to believe in, if you're on that boat or on that plane flying over there, you're gonna remember saying, "Man, I remember Pat Dearborn told me,
Wish I fucking voted,
why not
right?
vote?"
Yep.
Because if 10 million of you, 5 million of you, 1 million of you do that this election, that could help turn the tide. That's how close some of these states are. So you have to get involved, and you have to encourage other of your friends while you're sitting there and you're betting on football and you're having fun and doing all the going to the gym and doing all the things you're doing. I'm being serious.
Yeah.
All right, don't flex the quads. You have to take as much effort to go, I care about the future of this country. I care about the future. So you got to get involved. You got to go register to vote, man. It's your American right. People died so you could have that right. And I mean that. And the second thing is, and again, it doesn't mean you got to be perfect. You got to let go and let God. We need to come back to, we are one nation under God. Even though I'm probably the biggest sinner in this room, God knows my heart. And I'm telling you, I wouldn't be here today. None of us would without the grace of God. Whatever your story is, you were created for a purpose. I was created for a purpose. You were created. There was no big bang explosion and that made a million different breeds of birds and seashells and all the cool little things you see in our world. God created that, and he has a plan for you, a plan for me, a plan for you all. Doing this podcast is part of that plan, as long as your focus, and I love what you all stand for, that grit. You know who had grit? Jesus had grit. That dude took the biggest beating and crucifixion on the cross so all of us could have eternal life. We have to turn to that more and try to be the best versions of us we can be. And you can't do that on your own without at least having a relationship with God. And I'm not trying to get all deep on you, but I look at you all, and I was 24 once too. It's a different mentality. You have to change that and influence others around you, your age, to get more involved, to vote, to turn to God, to go to church. And if church is boring, then find a cool church that's got rock and roll contemporary music.
Yeah,
there's
and
so
has
many different
somebody
kinds.
preaching.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you now,
Yeah.
if you checked out First Naples, Pastor Alan Brumbrick, and just watch it online, I guarantee you sit back and go, man, that's a cool message I can relate to. I want to find out more. And then
Definitely
turn to
want to
that.
check it out.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, I think a lot of 20-something-year-olds feel powerless in the situation. We didn't start this podcast for any other reason, or start the company that we started and started helping people that we wanted to help for any other reason. Even though I'm where I'm at now, I'm going to find the ability, I'm going to find the lane to help as many people that are trying, that have the ability, that have the power, that have the strength, that have the will, and that have the experience to make a change in the world. And if it means having this podcast, like, that's what having this conversation, that's what I think we have to do. Because at the end of the day, there is only so much that they're going to let everybody talk like this forever. And everybody's saying that, like, I'm not a tin hat person, but I'll tell you what, they don't want these conversations happening and going on the internet. That's true.
We're not that far away from this becoming an illegal thing.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, the vice president now, who's running for president, who wasn't voted in or nominated or anything, was just put in that position because Sleepy Joe retired, and her running candidate are both on record as saying that non-truths and falsehoods, like the fact checkers during COVID, right, that blocked all my stuff, those people are going to decide what you can and cannot say on your podcast. And if they don't like it, they can not only cancel you and block you, it's already happened in Europe. They can come arrest you. That's how important it is for you all to get involved and vote. If you watched that debate the other night, and I know you all didn't, it's okay. JD Vance talked about censorship. It's a real thing, man, and it's coming. It's already happening in Brazil. They blocked Twitter. Elon had no choice but to get on his hands and knees, hat in hand, and go back and basically appease them where they can start controlling what we post. It happened during COVID where they were fact-checking me and blocking me and shadow banning me. I've had a conversation with Mark Zuckerberg at a UFC fight, me and Alfie. Why are you shadow banning us? Now, Zuckerberg's come around now and already admitted that he was in cahoots with them the last time around, and he would not be doing that this time. But there are other dark forces out there, man, that are just as powerful that want to control you, and they don't want us speaking the truth or speaking our minds about our faith, about our freedoms, about our love of our country, and about making changes. So if they deem you all to be false, they don't like what you're saying, I'm telling you, we're not that far away from them being able to shut you down and arrest us for free speech. And there's no way we can let that happen. No way.
Something that like kind of is standing out to me just about this conversation that we're having. First of all, I'm loving this episode. I love the podcast. Love what you have to say. Appreciate you coming on.
Listen to me. Next time I come, I'm getting a haircut tight. I didn't know where you get that fade.
Yeah.
I want a fade haircut like you got next time for the show.
Frankie at Twin Cuts Gulf Coast Town Center.
Frankie at Twin Cuts Gulf Coast Town Center. Frankie, I need to come see you, man. We're looking old and busted. I want new hotness.
Boy.
Hook me up.
Anyways, but
go ahead.
What's really standing out to me about this is like, because this is something that drives me up a fucking wall, is that like I did watch the vice president debate.
Is that the first one you ever watched?
No, I watched the first. This whole election, I'm in on this. Like I said, I
you watched the first debate with Trump, and that was freaking hard.
So that is a whole side thing because I thought the debate itself was just fucking insulting.
Yeah, it was
insulting. They didn't answer. They didn't answer one question. No. It was ridiculous. Trump,
that's just not his thing, man.
It's not.
He's not a debate guy. You see him. I met him in person. He's so freaking awesome, dude. Like you'll tell him once, he'll meet you one time, and he'll know about whatever it is, your sister, your brother, your name. You'll see him a year later, and he'll still remember. I'm telling you, the guy's unbelievable.
But like the conversation that we're having right now, and I watched those two debates. Insulting. The VP one was better.
Much more cordial.
Much better.
Yep.
It was cordial. They actually discussed policies and everything.
Civil. They did.
It was civil. They respected each other to a point where it was good.
Yeah.
But what drives me up a fucking wall is that you're asking them these intricate policy questions and you give them 60 seconds to respond.
Yep.
And then the timer goes off, their mic shuts off, the moderators are talking over them.
Yeah.
The debate should be so painfully fucking boring and last 2 weeks. It should be on for 8 hours a day for 14 fucking days where they go intricately into each specific policy, what they're going to do, what their plans are.
Brother, let me tell you why they don't do that. A, no one's got the attention span. They've got you all down to a minute. We're on social media. They know they don't get you in 4, 5, 6 seconds, TikTok and all that, they lose you. So my point is, it's the narrative. No matter what you say, those moderators, that media source, which at the end of the day, they control.
Put a shift in an angle.
They want to control the narrative. Yeah. And even though they're giving JD Vance a platform to speak, they want to control the polling. They want to control the mic shut off. They want to control everything. So even though he's speaking and saying things that I care about, like censorship and all that, they've got him in a corner where they're controlling the narrative. And I'm telling you, they want to control. They're running into problems with our generation, the Alfiotes, the people that push back and go kiss my ass. We're not doing it. And I'm not saying that you all don't have that in you, but you said it yourself. You're 24 years old. You've never voted. But you're just now waking up, starting to pay attention. I need everybody 24, 25, 26, 22, 21 to wake up and start paying attention. And whether you agree with me or not on our political alignment, the fact that you care and it matters, because I'm telling you, your right to speak, your right to live, your right to do the things you want to do with your body and I'm telling you, you're going to lose all that if we don't make a stand right now.
And to a point,
That's a fact.
I agree with what you're saying, but I also disagree to a point where
don't make me hop off this couch, man.
we can, you know,
What's
but
up?
I disagree to a point where there has to be a way to restructure the debates where they're using it as a fucking buzzer beater. They know they got 60 seconds.
I'm not arguing with you.
Yes.
I'm just saying you're never going to get that because they control the
right.
Go buy a media. Go buy a media outlet. Then you can control the narrative.
Right. And
well, that's what.
Hold on, long-term plans here. I have some things in the works there, at least a concept of it. But
the GRYT channel, it's coming.
Yeah, we're unbiased news source. It's coming. Give us like 5 years, but it's coming.
We want to do that.
Tagline?
We want to do that in Naples specifically, sooner because
GRYT.
what we know, 100%. What we know is that I feel more confident speaking out about what I believe in when I have somebody like you come to the studio and we're able to have these conversations and we're able to feel like, hey, you know what?
You always feel that way, man.
But it's the thing
It's your
is
show.
when you're I'm not just speaking for us as a podcast, but speaking for the 20-something-year-old when they're in corporate America or they're in this matrix where they're
matrix. I love that analogy because we are
boss or their direct report or their whatever will literally fire them. Because they believe in something, or they're trying to stand for something,
or because they don't wear a mask, or they didn't get the shot. I'm telling that's the world we live in. That was just a first phase. So I love to use that matrix analogy. That's awesome. So, look, the GRYT channel. Buddy, here's your tagline right now: unbossed, unafraid, unvaccinated, unapologetic, unbiased. The GRYT channel. Let's fucking go. I want in. I want in.
I want you in.
I want to check right now. I'm in.
So we talk about it all the time.
Let's go.
So we talk about it all the time, and it's funny. It's like, you know, the business is doing very well, and then so we're saying like, you know, eventually down the line when we're, you know, we made a lot of money, it was successful. Like we all think we're gonna have like our own little side quests, right? Like Jamie wants to open like these cafes. Like we all have things that we want to do outside of GRYT.
That guy wants to be an exotic dancer, doesn't he?
Yes,
Male dancer.
Ryan.
I can tell that.
He's a handsome fellow.
I can get that vibe from him.
But it's like one of the things we always talked about was like that is something like we truly want to do is, and I think we can do it over time, is like create there. I haven't watched the news in maybe probably ever, honestly. It's just like I simply don't believe it. I think it's bullshit. I think everything they're saying to me is bullshit. I want to create something where it's unbiased. It just tells you what the fuck's going on. Yeah. It's not an angle on it. There's zero opinion in the whole thing. It's just, hey, this happened yesterday. It's like, why can't we have that? It's fucking crazy. And
why can't we have a direct
this
source? This
happened yesterday. Do what you want with that information. Like that's what the news should be. It doesn't have to be an angle on everything. I don't know, man.
So look, I'm gonna wrap this up by what you just said. Here's how we're gonna win. Here's how you're gonna win. And you're going to win, and we're going to win. And you are going to win by keep telling the truth. Keep telling the truth. We win. Keep being real. We win. Keep your thoughts, not I'm Republican or I'm Democrat. Keep the trajectory of this thing common sense based, right? Common sense. We lost common sense. And last but not least, man, keep it about what's best for America. I can already tell you're fired about all this stuff going overseas when our own American citizens here in Florida, here in North Carolina, across the country are hurting. We got homeless veterans and we're giving illegal aliens $13,000. Like it's absurd. So we got to keep it. We got to keep telling the truth. We got to keep it common sense based and real. And we got to put the American people first. And if you do that with your business, if you do that and make those priorities along with having a relationship with God, I'm telling you right now, you guys will be blessed. This show will blow up.
Appreciate that. And what you said earlier, I know you're a busy guy, but I would love to do this again. I would like to make you a recurring guest.
Let's go.
The politic episode.
And if anybody's scared, call 911. I'm all in.
Let's go, baby.
Let's
go.
All right, Patrick, I appreciate it, man. This was an
awesome
episode.
Thank all you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bless y'all.
Let's do this again soon for
like,
sure.
subscribe, comment, please. Support Patrick in any way that you can. If you're in Freedomtown, USA,
Is there anything you wanna
I'm gonna
add?
give a quick shout out to Goated. Y'all asked about Goated. So Goated, they got Goated golf, Goated putters, Goated clothing. Just Google Goated here in Bonita, Naples, Florida. All their stuff will come up. Kevin Van Duzer, man, appreciate you. I'm officially sponsored. All I wear is their stuff. They've got scripture on the back collar. They got the little goat here on the thing. I'm not gonna lie to you, buddy. It makes your arms look bigger. So make sure you check out Goated.
They're looking pretty big right now.
Let's go. Not bad, 56.
No, come on now.
Very
Appreciate
fucking
y'all,
good.
man.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.